Hi. How is everyone? We're doing a middle of the week live this week. I hope y'all are okay with that. I know the time is hard. Time is always hard. But the cool thing about these are we're going to do them live. So if you're here live, you get to ask questions. But I'll always save them. And then I will even make them available on... Oh, I love that. You haven't gone to the doctor in 6 years. Oh my goodness. I kind of want to know more about if we did a visit or if you've just done the master classes or... I have questions for you. Thank you for sharing, though. I love that so much. That's truly the intention. It was funny because back when I started my business, right out of medical school, I gave my business plan to the people I was working with, and my goal was to get people out of my office as quickly as possible and for them to never return. And I was told that my business would fail definitely within the first 5 years, and for sure, or most probably within the first 2 years of starting a business. And it was just kind of one of those things that kind of fueled my fire here of, well then, just wait and see, right? That's my favorite thing to say, is like when someone tells you what you can't do, and it's going to be something that you're going to do, just say, just wait and see, right? You'll see. And that's exactly what this medicine has done. So I love stories like that because that's the goal. For you to become, or for you to realize that not only you've always been, it's not just that you're going to become your doctor, it's that you've always been. And your body is that doctor. And I truly believe, I've said this to a lot of you that I've worked with one-on-one, especially those of you that are parents, we will have a generation of children eventually that when asked who their doctor is, they're going to kind of look confused. And when doctor is explained, they're going to be like, that's me, it's my body, it's what I'm walking around in. And I think that's going to be such a cool thing to experience. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. I don't think your name was on it, but if you want to share your name, feel free, because I just love that. I love those stories. Hi, everyone. Okay, perfect. Wednesday may be a good day for you guys. We'll see. No doctors for you either. I love it. No doctors for me. I know. It's so good. That's where we're going, everyone. That is where we're going. Okay. Australia, I've heard y'all are in summer. Like, kind of skipped a season, jumped right in, right? Okay, we already got some skin questions coming up. That's actually a good question. I love that you put the little smiley face on this question. Okay, so we're just going to jump in. There's quite a few of you here already. I hate wasting time. I love results. I love using time beautifully, productively. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. So if you're new to me, you're in a bubble where we start off from the premise that your body is always right, that your symptoms are healing, and that's not to say that we want them to stay, but that we are going to have to be the cause to the effect that we desire. And if you're in this bubble too, you know that the cause is going to be you in your life, and it is not going to be changing something that's external to you. So it's not going to be an herb is not going to be the cause to the effect that we desire. Thyroid hormone is not going to be the cause to the effect we desire. Those are all things that are going to manipulate your physiology out of the actual effects of your life. And so to understand this will really help you understand even the conversation moving forward. And so if you're new to me, I encourage you to kind of go back to my YouTube. I've got so many hours of free information. Go back to the beginning of this little page here on Instagram. I've got so much free content. Everything I put out is the actual medicine. A lot of people withhold and put medicine everywhere else. I did it the opposite. And because of the nature of the world, everyone thinks that I'm not giving it. So go back in, read it as if that is the juice, that is the gold, and then apply it. Because that's what I see a lot of times. The missing link is usually that it hasn't been applied, or it hasn't been applied like you would apply breathing in life, right? So these things are fundamental to how the body works. Your body has to play with not only the practical components of the world that you live on, planet Earth, but it also has to abide by the poetry, right? So we are in a world that likes to talk about the poetry a lot. And I love the poetry. I love the poetry, but there has to be this beautiful, practical, rational blend of both of those things, because your body has to communicate with all of it at all times. And we'll have bigger conversations maybe in the future about how and when the poetry can go and override the physiology of the practical, right? But I do want to come here because I am getting a lot of your messages. We're going through them as quickly as we can and trying to get back to everyone. Or if they're just to me for questions and stuff like that, I do try to get through them. But the one coming up a lot is just with regards to kind of that conversation and how it's kind of being portrayed in other places. And so I do want to kind of get a little bit more clear here. This work came out of my living. I went through both sides of medicine. And then try to do the blending of the integrative, try to do the blending with the functional, and then kind of got spit out on the whole other side of it's all kind of the same, just playing with different things in the slots that we call variables, right? So instead of something pharmaceutical grade, it was herbal or some supplemental or something like that. And so I had to get to a point where I just threw out everything and had a different level of curiosity. And that's what got me to this medicine. So unfortunately, the language of it is very beautiful and very easy to reproduce. And so if you, it's not a bad thing to reproduce it, but I would encourage you, if you are reproducing it, to make sure you understand the science and the actual medicine behind the poetic language. The poetic language came out of the implementation of the very literal understanding, meaning biochemistry, physiology, even physics. All of those things were the foundation that grew this beautiful language. So unfortunately, in the world that we're in a world that likes to go and pick beautiful flowers and hold them like they are their own. But these flowers, that is this medicine, the beautiful language that comes from this, was grown on the soil of a lot of hard work, actual clinical practice, my own professional experience, as well as my personal experience before it ever even showed up on this app. And so I am running into a lot of questions if other people are practicing this. Practicing is an interesting concept in general, but we're just going to be very technical here. I have not taught any other practitioners how I do medicine. So if you've worked with me, that is still not understanding all of the medicine. It would be like saying you went to one class and you understand everything that you would learn while you were getting your PhD. And so you've got to understand that that's kind of the beast here. Is it's very easy to borrow and pick and find beautiful things, but that's very different than actually having the background to turn this into an actual medicine. And so this is not just beautiful language. It has beautiful language because life is beautiful and medicine is beautiful and bodies are beautiful, and the metaphysical world that you are swimming in is absolutely stunning. But that being said, being able to say it and actually seeing it and using it in practice are two very different things. And I've never had the privilege of working with anybody, and then I've also not mentored anyone up until this point. I'm looking at how to do this in lots of different ways to get it out there, to be more available, and not just something that's in my brain and in my practice and in my case reports and everything. So Until I've met somebody, even if they're saying the same things, I can't vet them. It doesn't mean that they're, I can't speak for anybody else. I just know me and my practice, I haven't experienced anyone else doing this. And so you have to be, but I think this is a beautiful opportunity to just, you have to be the one being the compass. And you have to get to a point where beautiful language and even confidence within a presentation doesn't dazzle you away from your true knowing. We are in a world of performance. And if you look at it, it's such, like if you can look at it as art and creativity, it's such a beautiful thing. The problem is when it starts kind of washing over into being kind of using your ability to perform it and utilize or reuse others' words to create a place where people can kind of be misled. And so I'm just going to leave that here just to say it because I've never really said it on this platform, but this medicine came out of a very practical medicine. Not only was I educated on all sides and experienced not only the hospital setting, from emergency room to the natural setting to cardiology. I actually was in these places, but I have actual patients. And so I've got case reports. I've got a lot of stories that we could put out about how they didn't want my case reports because people actually healed without substances, without pharmaceutical drugs, but that's a different story. So that is the background here. And that's why I can speak on these things, and that's where the beautiful language comes from. So the beautiful language did not inform the other. I was in, the nuts and bolts of human physiology, biochemistry, physics, actual, literal, what I could find even within the world of research to be able to say the things that I'm saying. And so that's very different than saying the things and having no experience actually in a clinical setting and kind of making it a little bit more confusing. So in this bubble, we're in this bubble with the work that I've done, with the cases that I have, with the experience that I actually have in the world of medicine. And so that's where this comes from. It's not, oh, it sounds pretty. It does sound pretty. It sounds so beep beautiful because it is, and that's what you're setting in. But what I want you to understand too is the language I'm bringing here is that there is science behind it. There is clinical practice behind it. There is a lot behind it. But what I'm trying to give you here in a space like this is, can we start chipping away at that old way of thinking? Can I start chipping away through my experience, through what I've actually seen in practice with a lot of human beings? Can we start chipping away in any way we can in a sea of misinformation, in a sea of just overabundance of just any information? You're just swimming in, like the second you click off of here, you could go to anything else or hear something that says exactly the opposite of what we're saying here. And so you've got to have the discernment to not only understand where you're at, but understand how you're utilizing your intellect, utilizing your time, utilizing your brain. This is requiring energy. And energy is the currency of your life. And so if you give energy here and it doesn't give you anything back, you haven't made a good investment. And you get this one beautiful, rad, dynamic life. And so you've got to start managing your bank account in a very intelligent way. And so that's where it's got to be like, is this going to give to you? If yes, let's stay, let's rock and roll, let's do something with this time. If no, don't waste it just to be swimming in information. It's occupying brain cells, it's requiring energy. You're going to have to eliminate it in some way. The body works how the body works, right? So you've got to be very intentional with your time. And so that's what we're going to do here is we're trying to clean this up. We're trying to refresh because repetition is also very important, especially when something like this is so new, because you're wanting to find confidence in the believing of it, right? And so when you haven't had a clinical practice, how do we build that confidence? You've got to live it. And that's why I'm trying to say the most valuable thing you could do is live it first. Live it, breathe it, swim in it, have no days off of this way of living, this way of changing your mind, and know that everything is that, strengthening a muscle process. You're not going to wake up every single day and be like, oh yay, I have a rash. Fantastic, glorious. This feels great. How should I proceed with my day? No, you're going to still have to have those days where you battle with, okay, I need to, get a pharmaceutical compound to stop this, or I'm going to be greener and I'm going to get an herbal tea, an herbal compress, and some supplements, and we're just going to knock this out. Well, you're doing the same thing just in a different way, right? And you could have arguments all day long on, what's closer to quote unquote right, but remember, we don't want right answers anymore. We want a truth. And so when you're working with the body, you've got to ask it different questions and you're going to get different answers. And when you're starting, again, from where we're starting in this wonderful little bubble here, your body is always right. Now let's ask questions. Now how do we change it? It's right. How do we change what it's doing in a true way, right? Instead of it's wrong, let me make it go away. You're in a that's how the rest of the world is taught to operate. And again, we've got to be very aware of what we assume too when we're listening. I would encourage you to listen to what's actually being said and don't add on any additional assumptions. So just because the model of medicine, the business of medicine, the school of medicine is not true, doesn't mean the people that are pursuing that are bad or malicious. It just means they are studying a model that does not translate truly to how the human body functions. And so again, we've got to step away from this, okay, if it's not allopathic, it has to be natural. And if it's not natural, then it has to be allopathic, or this very rigid container, this or that type thinking. It's what if we just listen, just to listen, just for understanding with curiosity, and we don't take the next step to assume, because you've also got to watch your brain on it's going to go there, and then you can't really hear what's being said. And so with this message, it's hard because it's not saying practitioners are wrong. It's not saying other types of manipulating of human physiology is wrong at all. It's just saying in this bubble, we're doing something different, because the patient population that I was working with were the people that did everything else, jumped to the natural version, did everything within that world, and nothing worked. And so it pushed me to ask better questions. So all the investigation I did was, okay, it's not that any of that's bad, but why? How can a person, say with cancer, go through chemotherapy, go through radiation, go through surgery, go through integrative care, go to just naturopathic medicine, and they still haven't resolved what is going on in their physiology that they started the whole process to begin with? That's the level of investigation that I had to do. And so that's where this is coming from. It's not nothing is wrong. You can do with your life whatever you want. It's beautiful. I'm in this little blip of a light on this platform to just say, okay, so I did that, I did this, I did that, and it's all kind of the same, just playing with different variables, right? And kind of resonating differently based off of your values, your morals, what you believe in, what you resonate with. But the formula was what I started realizing was what had to change, not just substituting an herb where a pharmaceutical drug used to be. And so that's where this is. But the people are beautiful. I was one of those people. We want the best. We care the most. We are often going through our own things. And it's not, I don't think it's out of malicious intent. It's out of, a lot of times, when you're in the education system, you're trying hard too, right? You're trying to find answers for yourself too, because you wouldn't hop in it if you had them, right? If you just think about that. Like, I didn't go to school because I knew everything. I went to school out of absolute fear and just wanting to make sure I knew everything that a human being could know so that I could prevent death. And you all know my story on that. So we're going to jump back in here. I just wanted y'all to have a place to start when we think here and when we answer questions here. It can't have the same level of thinking that exists outside here, because then the answers aren't going to make sense, or you're going to interpret them in a way that's this or that, or this is good, that is bad, or again, the poetry language is beautiful, but what do we do with it? I want you to know that the poetry has corresponding biochemistry, physiology, and that actually created the language. It wasn't the other way around, even though I think, if you really got into it, you could probably do it both ways. Okay, so hi. I hope you're having a good day so far. Oh, my mom's in here. Everyone say hi to my mom. That's medicine, right? Moms are medicine. You can't help but smile and get excited, and I love it so much. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of skim to the top. We're going to try to answer questions that are right here today. Those of you kind of asking some of these personal questions, I'm just going to skim right over them. If you kind of want a view of my personal life, I put a little bit more over on my subscription page. We get super personal over there. I give my experiences. I kind of give what I went through, and some of these questions you're asking with regards to relationship. You can go get caught up over there. It's lots of fun. And see my cute little squishies over there too. Okay. All right. So for you, this question right here, I'm going to kind of rephrase it because I think it might have a little typo, but if you're seeking hormone treatment, do you need balance? And so, yes, so we have talked in other lives, but it's worth repeating here. When you're dealing with hormones are not the cause, they're the effect. And so you're not wanting to just go and put more in, because there's a reason the body is doing what it's doing. And so your moods will create certain different hormonal constellations, your experiences, your nutrition, your digestion, your movement, your exposure to light, all of these different things are communicating through that hormonal system as well. And so you can't ever isolate something as just this one thing controls hormones. Just like you can't say just taking a hormone is going to change my hormones. It's going to manipulate a portion of the output of that hormone, but it's not actually changing anything. So yes, the short answer is, if you're to a point where you're needing to take, or you're looking into taking hormones, exogenous hormones, the creams, the dermal patches, the pellets, if you're in that world, yes, I would say you need to really start evaluating your life. And when we talk about this, be very aware of the language that we're using here. When I say your life is your medicine, it's not how can you control the world around you to please you, or the world around you to be in a certain way where you're okay in it. The true understanding of that phrase is, how can you be okay in any and every environment, in any and every relationship, in any and every experience? How can you be balanced? How can you be well? How can you manage not only your nervous system, your heart, your mind, but your entire experience? Because that is what is governing your chemistry. That's what's pulsing through your veins. And so the other world has it completely upside down and backwards, but there are truths hidden in it, and that's where, if you want to do this on your own, you've just really got to go and look at the truths. And a truth works both ways. And so that's where you can find some of these truths in allopathic medicine, because you can change the blood and change the mood. You can change the blood and change a certain physiological outcome, but it's not sustained, right? And you're going to constantly have to have that same input, no matter what that is, whether that's an injection, a hormone, a compound, a cream, whatever. Or if you jump over into the world of natural medicine, that's always needing those herbs, those supplements, those nutrients, those compounds to go and push different things. And so what you're wanting is, you're wanting to get to a point where you are maintained and sustained within the living of your life. And so how I like to do it in practice, because I also understand, I've had the patient population that I saw most was, again, people that had really severe things that nothing else could help. And so when you're in that patient population, it's people that have the best of the best. They have access to all of the compounds. They've gone to all of the doctors. They've done all of the extensive functional lab testing. They know values that even research doesn't really even know much about yet. And so it's not that they didn't have enough information, it's that they have so much, they've tried so many things, and they're still kind of meeting that dead end. And so through working with that level of a patient, it helped me kind of work in reverse to understand the mechanism of medicine, the mechanism of how life dances with human physiology and creates the chemistry that we're fighting against. And so that's the basis behind all of this. So I'm trying to just tell you, so you don't have to have the medical scientific language, that it's your life, yours. So even a lot of you are asking a lot of relationship questions. You got to be very careful when it comes to relationship type. Okay, so I need to get out of this relationship to be okay. Not necessarily, right? So it's an extensive conversation, but it's you in every type of experience of your life that's governing what's going on within you. And you already know the things that make you, lose it, or the things, places and people or experiences or different things that will push your buttons. You should already kind of get to know you. And if you don't, I would say you need to spend more time knowing you. Like, what thrills you? What makes you nervous? What excites you? What makes you exhausted? You should have those answers to those questions just by yourself through observing you living life. And I would start there, because if you don't know that about you, if you're always concerned about somebody else needing to be a certain way for you to be okay, or even to the extreme, like, I'm so healthy and so well if no human being is around me that can push a button. We both know that there's a huge opportunity for a lot of work there, because you should be okay everywhere, with anyone, with people that don't believe in the same things you believe politically, with people that don't believe in the same things you believe in medically, with people that don't believe in the same things that you believe even relationally, or how to raise a family, or spiritual beliefs. You should be able to be okay in the presence of all people. And if you've ever been on my subscription page, we talk about belonging a lot. And that's such a huge component of belonging, which is so therapeutic to a human body. And so, yes, if you're in the world of hormones, if you're looking at things to change hormones, you really have to start looking at your life. And so a lot of people want to start putting age, which is just chronological time passing, because we all now know that biological age and chronological age don't have to match, and often don't, right? And so you should only be concerned with the things that you can control. Chronological time always passes, so to think about that is kind of a waste of time, the irony, right? So your actual biological time, like, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your energy? What are you doing with your attention? What are you doing with your love? What are you doing with your excitement? What are you doing with your sadness? What are you doing with it? Are you creating something beautiful from it? Or are you using, it to, like, what are you doing with your life? That's where I would say focus. And remember, yours, not how can everybody else behave in a way that doesn't make your day anything other than rosy and peachy and rainbows, right? That's not your life is your medicine. That is how to be the world's greatest manipulator. And that's really what we're not wanting to do. We're wanting to be as true as you can be, as genuine as you can be, as alive as you can be, at the same time of understanding you and knowing what you need to do to be okay. Just like when we talk about in the nutrition class, how that second question for the rest of time will make you question you in relation to others, will make you look at what's going on in your mind and your heart and your mood and your emotions and your neurology before you even get to thinking about food. That's why I love that class so much, because it makes you do the other work. You're not going to have to go work on relationships. You're not going to have to go work on neurology. You're not going to have to work on nervous system. It's going to be a dynamic, this is you today, just to eat a meal. It's going to have this beautiful asking of, after that first question, that second one, how are we? And then that automatically makes you do the real work, the work that's actually relevant to your life, not relevant to somebody else's life. And that's why I love it, because your gut's never going to lie to you. Your heart's never going to lie to you. Your mind is compromised right now because you're in a world of information overload, and who can seduce you the most, and who can dazzle you the most, and who can, seem compelling the most. So you've got to know that your mind is compromised. It's a tool. It's a beautiful, magnificent, powerful tool. But until further notice, it's compromised. So when you're dealing with the body, you listen to the body. And that's why that nutrition class, if I could encourage you to take anything, especially if this medicine seems too elusive, go take that class, live it, and then you're going to be like, oh, okay, now I see why you can't tell a person that second step, and you're literally in the second step of digestion. You can't tell somebody, because it's billions of who knows where that person is that day. Right? And that's why you've got to ask yourself those every single time you even look at a piece of food. And even if that was the only work you did, it would create all the other work in this beautiful, wonderful way, and it would make you get to know you. That's how, it's almost like this, like how we talk about the world is kind of holographic in nature. So are these things, right? It's not like, okay, once I handle my gut, I'm going to go handle my relationships. Once I handle my relationships, I'm going to go handle my finances. No, it's all going to ping pong off of each other. And as you change this, it's going to reflect into that. And as you change this, it's going to change something you never even thought of before you even get there. And that's how beautiful the true work is, the real work is. And that's why, I would encourage you to do it. And it's already sitting with you. I promise you, if I got to sit with you for 15 minutes and ask you a handful of questions, you already know what you need to change. You already know where you need to focus. You already know the things you need to get rid of. And you are going to get trapped in the world of, let's find out why you're not. You already know that too. All you need to do is get to the point where you make the decision to do it a different way, to go do that thing that you know that you're not doing, to go invest in that area that you know you're not investing, to quit investing in certain areas that you know are not giving you anything, or if anything, you're paying to be stolen from more. And you've got to be the one with the discernment, with the boundaries, with the understanding of yourself to be able to navigate a world, especially this world that you're in, of, hey, look over here, look over here, look over here, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. Hey, have you heard of this? Have you remembered to be afraid of this? Have you even heard of this? You should be afraid of that too. Also, you can get this. Also, this is brand new. Also, have you heard of this? So you've got to kind of, in a very playful way, take the reins over your life and be like, that's exhausting and overstimulating. Too much, and you've got to dial it back. But I'm kind of in this season of cleaning out, major cleaning out, as some of you have been following on the other side. And, you've got to do it. Like, as much as you want somebody to come in and be like, hey, come pick out all the stuff that I like and take away all the stuff that I don't. Like, I kept being like, can you Google that? Is there a way to Google that? Like, can somebody come in, read my mind about everything in my space, in my office, in my room, in my closet? Can somebody read my mind and just do it for me? No. For it to be yours and how you really want it, you have to be the one that does it. You have to go through your shit. You have to get rid of the stuff that no longer deserves a place in your life. You have to go after the stuff that you want in your life. It has to be you. There are no shortcuts. And so as soon as you can wrap your mind around that, the sooner you're going to get to the point where you're like, I don't want to manipulate anything because I want to get through this stage the quickest. I don't want someone to make me be able to sit in my mess longer and keep me comfortable and motivated in my mess. I want to see the mess and start doing the uncomfortable work of changing it, of getting rid of things, of being done with a way of thinking, being done with a way of doing, and not being like, I'm going to keep sampling, I'm going to keep bringing in, and I'm going to keep getting nothing in return, because that's not how you change a body, right? And on this topic, another question that kind of touched a conversation I had with my sister this week. You cannot let the desire for other people to do life and medicine the way you believe in it to become a stressor in your life. the situation, and I know a lot of you have had a situation like this, is if a family friend or a loved one gets diagnosed with something and you know they're about to go into the medical industry and just get taken. You can't let that become a stressor, because then you're no longer available to even be medicine for that situation. And so just briefly, I just want to, we go into that on depth on my subscription page too on a couple of times, a couple of videos over there. But just to kind of recap, it's you with you. And the more you radiate what you believe in, the more opportunity you give others to be like, okay, I don't even know what she believes in, but I see that she has radiant health. I see that she's so happy, she's so content, she's not performing, she's ridiculously alive. I'm just gonna ask her, instead of, I'm gonna force feed you my beliefs and call that love. Remember, that's not love. If you wanna deep dive in that, we've got a whole video over there on my subscription page about that specifically. But you cannot let that be a component of your stress, because then you can't be medicine for that moment, right? And part of how we're living is not just this me mentality. It's the understanding that as I change me, I change everything around me. Everything ripples from how I am. And so you have to understand you. You have to actually be ridiculously honest with yourself, right? We don't call it brutally honest anymore in this little bubble. I call it beautifully honest, right? Because it's the most beautiful thing to be honest with another. Don't you love that? I'm obsessed with honest people, and just intoxicated by their presence, even if we don't agree. Sometimes, especially if we don't agree. And so that's what you want to be with yourself, because when you truly know you, when you really get familiar with your own bullshit, when you really get to know your own brilliance, when you really get to know your own ways of moving through life and the things that you could do better, you start working where the work actually matters, and you're not needing to go and convince others or seduce others into believing like you're believing. You live how you live, and Nelson Mandela said it, like, your life is your message, right? So here, your life is your medicine, because it literally is, but then change that to a more poetic version of that. And that's going to ripple, it's an omnidirectional touch. It's, yes, your life is your medicine. That's why you've just got to be as true as you can be. But then you can't not touch the rest of life. So how are you touching it? What is your actual literal vibration? Not just using the language. I'm saying literally. What is it that you are vibrating from you? Is it truth? Is it a performance to dazzle and manipulate and get something that you want on the back end? Or are you giving, right? We talked about this last week from my experience in Burning Man too, if y'all want to check that one out. That one was my heart just squished all over you in a video. But it brought up some powerful, powerful stuff. And so that's where, you want to be focused in on you. And everything that you do is just this gift that comes from the truth of you. Not, I have this motive, I have this intention, I'm trying to do this in a backhand way, because sometimes, from just what I've experienced working with a lot of people, we try to impose things to control, right? So you try to impose your beliefs in medicine, and it seems virtuous and kind, and there's some parts of it that are, but if you really started zooming in and we had that ability to see exactly what it was, is there any level of that that's just a fear-based control mechanism that you employ, right? And so that's when you only want to see you, and the less people that are in your rooms telling you who you are, the better off you're going to be, because only you know. And the second you put another voice in your head, you're going to start changing even the transmission of the signal. And so what you want is, you want to get to a point where you're okay with just you processing you. You don't need to bounce you off of somebody else and be like, tell me what you think. Tell me what's wrong with me. Tell me, can we get to a point, right? That's why I do the rules like I do them. Because it's not somebody needing to analyze you. It's you needing to understand you, and you needing to realize that your body is partnered with you to be like, hey, just like in that nutrition class, you're not digesting food right now. Not because I'm wrong, but because you shouldn't. And to have that conversation instead of, oh, I hate my body. I always get gassy and bloaty on dates. I always have, explosive diarrhea after this. I can't ever eat a meal, or I feel nauseous 2 seconds. Okay, it's right. Now have a conversation with it. And nobody has to be invited to that conversation. And for a period of your time, I hope they're not, right? Can you imagine having an intimate conversation with your lover and being like, hey, neighbor, come over. Let me know what you think about us. No. Like, go. Be with me. Because I'm meeting, and some of you may be meeting your body for the first time. And so I would encourage you to do that in an intimate setting, you with you. Don't invite anyone else. And that's part of the problem with practitioners is we often go in there to be like, tell me what you see. That's why I'm kind of on a pause right now. And I will get back to y'all as soon as I can with how we're going to move forward. But we have to get to a point where it's not tell me what you see is wrong in me. You can learn human physiology, right? That's what those rules are helping you understand. There is a way the body works. And when you can listen to how it works, you can understand what it's trying to tell you. Literally, in a very literal way. But you've got to know you to know all the next steps. Nobody can tell you, right? Just like if we had a lineup of people and be like, you are going to be in love with that person. And if you're not in love with that person, you need to work on yourself until you could be in love with that person. That's absurd. That's absolutely ridiculous. Love is something between you and whatever you're loving. And nobody else, an opinion about it doesn't even make any sense. This is exactly what's going on with your body, right? I talk about love all the time because the more I studied the body, the more I studied healing, the more I realized that it was the most beautiful love language I had ever literally seen. Right? That's why I write what I write about it. Not just because it sounds poetic and beautiful, because what I saw was poetic and beautiful. And I literally, in the medical setting, watching wounds heal, watching all of these different things, was like, this is the unconditional love that we talk about. And I love love. I love romance. I love relationships. I love all of that good stuff. But this was that beautiful, pure, true, unwavering promise, right? That, one of the things that I love when it's said to me, truthfully sometimes, is I've got you, right? No, I got you. You're fine, right? And that's literally what your body is whispering to you at all times. And saying, hey, I got you. Sweetheart, I've got you. I promise. You got a cut, I'll heal it. You smash your finger, you're gonna lose the nail, but we're gonna heal it. You went to that surgery, I'm gonna heal not only what they worked on, but the incision that they had to go through to get to it. It wasn't them, it was you. And so when you can start really seeing what you're sitting in, the love, the love language just kind of blossoms on its own. And so you've got to know, like, the truth is going to require you to do a lot of work, and it's going to require you to take a lot of ownership, and it's going to require you to do a lot of the messy cleaning up, right? We are in a season of cleaning up. Can you feel it? Is it just me, or yeah? So clean up. But the cool thing about cleaning up is when you get it out and you dispose of it, unless you go grab it and bring it back in, you're done. Versus, hey, can everyone come in and kind of tell me how you feel about the space and how we're utilizing it and all the stuff in it? Do you like those? Do you like that? Do you like? No, I like it. Why is it here? Because I like it. I use it. So be that way about your life. Go clean up not just your mind. Go clean up your heart. Go clean up your relationships. Go clean up. Be very, very truthful. And quit trying to be good. Quit trying to be right. It's in the trying of those things that just that language alone, that's why I spent so much time understanding the utilization of language. Trying to be good is saying that you're not. So just be true. Give up being good. I don't want to try to be good anymore. I want to be true. I don't want to, try to be, I don't want to, I want to be. I'm not trying to be anything. I'm going to be these things. And then you live it every single day. There's no day where it's like, I'm taking a day off. It's like, no, this is all you have. So if your day off, that's just how you're investing, and own it, right? So it's this massive ownership of a life. Your life is your medicine is a massive ownership. And it's a massive understanding of if you don't like how it's going, if you don't like how it's feeling, you have to do it. Those toxic relationships, how are you in it? Those toxic work environments, and we're not talking like environmentally. We're saying those things that actually erode you, those things that steal your soul, right? Or how can you change you to change the place? There's all these different ways to look at it, but only you will know what's being true to you, and only you will know what's running away and trying to avoid anything that could ever challenge you. Because this way of living is, come at me. I'm not going to run away from everything on earth and say that that's healed and sovereign. I'm going to create a version of me that changes the spaces I'm in. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to demand others to be a version of them that's kosher for me or suitable for my taste. I'm going to be so whole within myself that I can be available to see the wholeness of them. Right? So that's what we're talking about here. It's not how can we manipulate everything? How can we start manipulating? How can we change this? Even when we get into the conversation of the mind, which is coming soon, you're with everything you need to work on. You don't need to find something. The work is just the living. And the sooner you can start being like, oh, okay, I get it. So it's in the being, it's in the living, it's in the doing, it's in the overcoming, right? And then the hardest part that is worth bringing up again too is it's in how you move through time, right? Sometimes we have to wait. Sometimes healing takes a while. And how do you move beautifully through that time? Are you going to rage against it? Because it's not how you think it should be. Your body's not healing how you think it should heal. Your body's not looking how you think it should heal based off of how you're looking at other people and assuming. And that's such, even just think about how much brain time it took to even say that. So just hone in on you this season. Clean up, right? Play by the rules of the planet that you're on, because you are on this planet and it's a fun place to be. It's a crazy place to be. It's all the emotions place to be. But if you can be here and if you can understand how you exist here, that's going to be the thing. That's why you're seeking all of the people outside of you. You're hoping that they can see something that you don't. But that's impossible, right? Because they're having to see through lots of different things to even observe you, and so many people can't even suspend their own judgments to see truly. So if there's even one judgment, like if somebody came in, I saw this with medicine all the time. If you label somebody something, you've already made it to where you can't see them, right? And so for you want to just, again, maybe make this a season of just cleaning up, getting rid of the unnecessary, making sure that what you're investing in is investing in you and has a return on that investment. And again, to understand that that doesn't mean like if I do this, you have to do this in return. That's such an ugly, yucky way to live, right? Again, go listen to my last Burning Man video on my subscription page and maybe get a different view of how we can change things in a beautiful way, in a true, genuine way, in a language that life speaks, not whatever all of this has created, right? So I'm going to zoom back catch a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap up for today, and then I'm going to head over to the other side. But I just wanted to bring some of this here. Okay. I wish I had music playing right now while I'm reading. You can play music in your head. Okay. Lots of things being said. So a lot of these relationship things we're going to save maybe for another time, because that's a really big conversation. And when you're dealing with relationships, again, you're not dealing, if you work with me, you know how we go about this, but you're relating is such a dynamic thing. And so you would have to take a lot into consideration to truly go about even discussing it in a way that would bring value. Because no two people experience the same thing, so, and even the two people that are in the relationship can experience a conflict, a moment, a memory, very, very differently. So we'll go into that maybe in another time where we can actually give some good time to it. And I love it. Isn't it cool that we all get, that is one really cool thing about technology. We are all over the map right now. All convening and communing in this one little space. Yeah. Some of y'all have been in the clean phase with me since we started over there. It's so good. It's so sucky too sometimes because you're like, I don't want to. But you move through those I don't want us. For the one saying deteriorating eyesight in your mid-40s, I would go work on light. Light would be a very important one for you. Because your vision and your eyes and everything has the same coating in it for healing and regeneration. Everything. Your eyes weren't excluded in the brilliance. It wasn't just like, hey, skin, you're going to be badass. Eyes, not so much. All of you has that same code, and it's so beautiful. All right. I think we're gonna have to wrap up for today. Okay, well, let me answer a couple of these. If for those of you that have done the master classes, these are gonna be valuable for you because I see a handful of these that we just want to make some clarification on. So for the master classes, those are more like technical, like do this, do this, do this. But we had to provide that amount of time because no two people can even eat the same. You couldn't even prescribe the cleanest diet and it actually be appropriate for two people at the same table. So when you take that class, you'll understand why, because so much of digestion also includes your nervous system, your mood, your behavior, your environment, what you did before and after. So that's what we give you, is just very, very simple. Like I take all of the medical stuff that I found, I simplify it down so that you can have kind of direction in, even if it's not eat this, it's how do I get to the answer of what I should eat, right? And so then you don't throw away everything you've ever learned in nutrition. You use it, and you use it to your advantage. But the problem is that we learn so much about foods and compounds and diets and ways of restricting and different enzymes and bitters and all of those things, and we miss the fact that the body was right to not digest food. And so that's what that masterclass goes into, is what is required, what are the rules that the body has to have to go and digest food. So it's kind of similar to like if you went and stood in an elevator and it didn't go up to the 5th floor, it's not that the elevator is wrong if you never pressed 5, right? So that's kind of the same thing with the body. A lot of you are standing in elevators expecting it to go to the floor of digestion, but you're not pressing the buttons that actually get it there. or you're pressing buttons that would go down to the basement, and then you're mad and you think you have a disease. No, it's your body's doing exactly what it should be doing. You've got to change why it's doing it if you want it to stop, right? And so that's what we go into the nutrition class. The nutrition class is not a diet class. We do not talk about diet. You'll understand in that first like 30 minutes why that's just, it doesn't make any sense. But it does teach you how to know what you should eat, right? Because that's a you thing. It's very practical on the physiology side. You've got to like honor the rules of human physiology, and then you use your just your whatever experience you're in to make the decisions. And remember, that's not going to be you only can have organic, only this. No, it opens up everything and says whatever is available to you, eat the best that you have available within your means, within what you can afford, with, you know, it's very much wherever you're at, how do we do it the best? That's true medicine. True medicine is not, you have to have this one thing, it's got to be organic, it's got to be lab tested, it's got to have all of these different things. If you don't have access to that, you can't eat. That's not medicine, that's manipulation. So to know the difference is what we go about in those classes is, okay, how do we make you well no matter where you're at? And then if you've got a lot of symptoms, because that was the other question, if you've got a lot of digestive symptoms, that means you've been breaking the rules of digestion for a really long time. So be nice to yourself. It's going to be a little bit of a process, but most people, when you're truly following the rules and being very honest with those questions, remember, you can't bullshit yourself. It's going to be you with you and be like, I can't eat right now, I've got to go do this. Or I can't eat right now, I've got to go do this. You've got to be very honest with yourself. Then you implement those for, it should be every time you look at food. There should be no moments where you're like, I'm not going to do that today. That's how the body works. So use it to your advantage, right? And then we talk about, over on my subscription page, we've done a couple of talks about how to break the rules intelligently, right? On like, okay, I don't want to follow the rules right now, but I want to get the most out of it. So how do I break them in the most brilliant, intelligent way possible? You can do that too. And you just play with those steps and do the best you can. And then you also have that element of, if I have gas, I did that. And then that also changes your neurology. That also changes your nervous system, your mood, because you take ownership of it. And it's no longer like, oh my gosh, I touched a stove and I got burned, my body is wrong. It's, why touch the stove? Why did I touch the stove, right? It's such a different experience of the same type of life, right? So it's not restriction. It's not you've got to eat this way for this long, eat this way for this long, eat this way. It's you got to get to know you, and you got to start changing your life. And this is why. This is what is required for digestion. And while you work on those parts of those questions that are harder to work on, right, that involve relationship and mood, and because that's another one that y'all are asking a lot, like the relationship component of nutrition. It's in that nutrition class, and you already know it's going to make you ask the next questions. Because if you're not digesting, of course it's going to be like, okay, what's hidden? Where's it at? Who is it? And what do we do about it? You don't need anyone guiding you through it. That's why I didn't guide you through it. Because it's going to make you ask the questions. You're going to have to answer honestly. And then you're going to have to do what's required to get to go back and be like, okay, yes. Check mark, green light, moving on to the next step, right? And you let it be a process, and you're not mad at yourself. You're not mad or frustrated. You're curious, and you're ready to go in and do the work. And so for those of you asking those questions, it's in there. That's already in there. That's that part of that step number 2 of you handle what's at the table instead of eating and acting like it's not there. And so we go into that in depth in that nutrition class already. So I wouldn't say that you would need to add on to that. If there's enough questions about it, you can send me a message, and if there's enough of that, we can maybe do an addendum to that, but it's already in there. Like I said, live it and let it show you the questions you need to ask, because a lot of people put on relationship things that are the self, that it's not the relationship. And once you change that in you, you don't have to go work on what you thought was solely the relationship. So kind of tread lightly with that one. It's going to touch every part of your life. The nutrition class has to touch every part of your life, because your whole person is required to be in a certain state to receive and digest and process food. So that's the beauty of this work, is it's going to make you do all the other work in all the areas of your life. It's not just like, this is just for the gut. That's impossible. If I wanted to just do something just for the gut, that's impossible. You can't do that. That's also how cool your body is. When you're healing your gut in a true way, not in a taking enzymes and herbs and, you know, all the demulcents and all of those different things to soothe your symptoms. That's not, no, when you're changing your life in a way where your body's like, yes, I can digest food. Not, how do you manipulate me out of the symptoms and the side effects of not being able to digest food and you still putting food in me. That's what medicine looks like today. Let's eat a really restricted diet. Let's use a lot of bitters. Let's use a lot of digestive enzymes. Let's use a lot of herbs to soothe and calm the repercussions of you breaking the rules. Let's just not break the rules, right? Imagine having like something sitting in your kitchen and be like, every time I eat that, I feel terrible. I'm gonna keep eating it and I'm gonna get a bunch of supplements to make me feel less of how terrible it makes me feel. What if we just stopped eating it, right? That's kind of the understanding of how the body works. Like, follow the rules and you won't have to clean up the side effects of breaking them, right? And what that actually looks like is more freedom. You're able to eat more, right? That's what a lot of you are like, oh, I wish I would have known this longer. I know, me too. I was the person that was gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, toxin-free, flavor-free, everything freaking free. But I wasn't free. And then I was like, wait a second. That's not what I want. I want to be free. I don't want my food to be free of everything, right? That's such a different way to live. And when you understand that that's what the body wants. That's why you've got people living into their, you know, hundreds, 109, 103, 98, and they're eating stuff that you're like, how could they live on that? They didn't live on that. They lived and they had that sometimes. It's totally different. So you want to be free in your life. You don't want to micromanage and make sure your food's free of anything that could ever create anything ever that's ever been researched ever. That's exhausting, right? Be smart, be intelligent, choose the best, because why not? Have the best in your body, because this is your one body. Let's make it have the best of everything. Just because. Why not? But that's very different than the mentality of everything is a problem, everything is a toxin, everything can damage and hurt me, and I'm so weak and insignificant that I have to avoid anything and everything, including a life filled of, you know, not just flavor, but life, right? All right, so I'm gonna wrap up these last few. Those are very important questions, and like I said, if you wanna, when I repost this video, if y'all have more of those ones specifically with relationships and nutrition, I'm not sure if y'all would want a follow-up class to that. We could do that, but it's in there. It's already in there. All right. So for those of you asking about skin, do the nutrition class first, because it's going to start showing you a lot about probably why your skin's talking. We can go into skin maybe in another. It's a big conversation too, but make sure you're following the rules of nutrition, and it's going to make you ask some questions that's going to start showing you what might be talking in your skin. Okay, let's see. And if you're just showing up, or you didn't get to ask a question, or you really feel like your question was really important, you can just comment underneath this after I repost it. But like I said, if it's some of these personal questions, my personal life is shared a little bit over on my subscription page, but it's just not in this space. So when you're asking about the root cause of fatigue, so continue doing the nutrition stuff, because that's very important. But I would actually look at the Energy Masterclass when you're dealing with that. And so be very cautious. The world of root cause is such an interesting play on words. Root cause is in you and your life. Root cause is not going to be in your mitochondria. It's not going to be, those again are the effect. So whatever you've done to create how your cells are behaving is the effect of your life. And so again, the language makes it really confusing, because when you think root cause, you're like, oh, if I find this thing and I change this thing, everything changes. Well, you got to flip it around, because your life is the root cause. And so you've got to change your life, right, in a very beautiful way. And don't make it complicated. Don't make it overly complicated. Hi. All right. Nova Scotia. My goodness. All right. Did those answers make sense for those of you asking those last few questions about the master classes? So I think we'll go into this one question. What's your name? Carrie. Hi. I kind of recognize you. So the practical steps on trusting your body. I think we could do this maybe in a more beautiful way, because I think that I do cover that a little bit over maybe on some of the lives I've done on this page and on my subscription page, because we kind of get a little bit more raw over there. But just to make it super simple, every single day that you do any work, you're investing in that. Because the thing about trust is it's a lived thing, right? You give it. And so you've got to give the trust to your body to let it show you. And it's such a hard thing, because you want it the other way. You want it to prove itself to you, and then you're like, okay, I trust you. But let's think about it really simply, really practically, real quick before we hop out. How many days of your life has your body saved your life? With how huge a pathology textbook could be, of all the different things that could go wrong that could kill you. How many days of your life has your body saved your life? In some of them that you didn't even know. And then how many days of your life has your body successfully done what it wanted to do and killed you? None, right? So that doesn't negate the fact that, right, I say this all the time, healing and death touch once. It's a bigger conversation. But you're promised healing, and it's always winning, right? We're promised death too. That's something totally different. And there is a touching of those two concepts, those two ideas, those two promises, right? But every single day is the proof. You being here right now is the proof of so many things going right that you didn't even know could go wrong. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? Like when you look at a pathology book, I remember being in medical school being like, I didn't even know that could go wrong. I didn't even know something that tiny, that little, something so deep into the like DNA folding could go wrong, and then I'd be a goner. You didn't even know enough to know how much your body was saving you. Instead of being like, you don't know everything that could go wrong. Your body, I've said this a long time ago, and I don't think people really understood what I was saying, but I think now it's kind of hitting differently. If your body wanted to kill you, it would. It's so brilliant. It would just have to stop doing clotting factors. It would have to just misfold a handful of proteins. It would just have to be like, I don't like her. But that's not how it's wired. That's not how you were created. That's not how it's designed. It's designed to heal and heal and heal and heal and heal. And just because medicine has come in and reorganized things and called certain things pathology and called certain things something else, the design of the body is still the design of the body, and it's beautiful. It's the same design that creates life, right? It's the same design that you get those beautiful stories of near-death experiences. Those are the same bodies you're in right now, the ones that can perform miracles. The reason we understand miracles is because the body does them, not because it didn't, because the body does them. The reason you even know about healing is because the body does it, not because it didn't. Think about that. So anytime you're really trying to get that trust, that's how I had to do it. I was very rational, very practical about how I used my intellect, because when I was using my intellect how they were teaching me to use it, it didn't make any sense. And I don't know about you, when a relationship doesn't make sense, when a school of thought doesn't make any sense, when a technique doesn't make any sense, when a sentence doesn't make any sense, my brain goes, I need that to make sense, right? So make it make sense. That's what I tell you all the time. Make it make sense to you. Make it make sense to you, and don't stop till it does. Does it make sense that a body as technical and brilliant and complicated, and medicine doesn't even have tools to measure everything that it can do? Does it make sense that that's the thing trying to kill you? Does that make sense? And does it make sense that it would heal, like your skin would always want to heal, but then other parts of you don't want to heal? Or other parts of you can't heal like your skin heals? Start asking yourself these bigger questions. Go match the science with it if you want to get to where I got to this medicine. It was a lot of work, but it was my questioning that brought me here, right? And how I observed things. So again, I'm going to go back and own some of the things that have been taken. My work came from me. It came from the way I observed, the way I experienced what was going on in my body, to watch it, right? To watch my sores heal, to watch my nervous system change and get to see that on imaging, right? So this is a very intimate type of medicine because it has to be. And it touches the mysterious because it has to. You're sitting in it. You're sitting in it right now. So when you're really wanting to go and at least have another step in that trust, anytime your brain wants to go off into what if, that's where I say, go plant some wonder and be like, wait a second. I got a cut the other day, and before I even found it, it healed. You could have died from that. There's so many things. So maybe, what if it's not that? And then my favorite thing is every single morning you wake up, you won. Every single day your body won. It's like, I got you. Look what I did. Look what I did. You're better. You're better than you were yesterday, right? If you're here today, you healed all day yesterday. If you're listening to this right now, you're more healed now than you were when you started this live video. What a beautiful thing, right? And it's just truth. It's just truth, right? So you work with the healing, or you make it harder, work against it, but it's always going to show up for you. All right. Okay, so those of you asking about what class, it's my nutrition masterclass. I've got a link on my main page here, up in the little, I guess it's the bio section. It's also on my website. You can find it there. I'll put it up in the stories too, just to make it. The stories are the little, like when the circle lights up around your face. And if you click on it, I put stuff in there that you can click on. Okay, it's called The Truth About Nutrition. We can change the name because I think that's what's kind of confusing a lot of people, but it has nothing to do with a diet. It's not about diets. It's giving up diets. It's breaking up with diets. It's divorcing the idea of diets forever. All right. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. I am going to repost this live. Remember, if anything hit you, use it. Apply it every single day. Don't leave it behind in this moment. Don't leave it behind and go get distracted by something else. Go and capture it. Utilize it. Make it be a part of the living of your life, because the living of your life is what's changing your tissues, right? It's not just what you hear, right? It's what you actually do and live and live and live and live and live. And I hope you start living so much that you forget to go learn about healing, because when you're there, you're in the sweet spot. All right, you're all perfect, so perfect. If you don't like how you feel, that doesn't mean you're not perfect. It just means you get to change how you're living, and you'll get a different effect because you're always the cause. All right. Bye, everyone.